Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Procure Tech Wonder. I am here with two amazing women from the Craft team. We have Mimi here and Ashley. Mimi is all about marketing for Craft, and Ashley is all about product. We're going to get to know them a little bit more, but I am so excited. I've been following Craft's journey for a very long time now. And what I love about what Craft is doing is you're helping with resiliency in supply chains for both procurement professionals and supply chain professionals. And we need that so much today. So I love what you guys are doing. Cannot wait to learn more. Starting with introductions. So Mimi, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure, happy to. So I am Craft's Chief Marketing Officer, and I've been in enterprise software for my entire career, mostly focused on analytics. And I've spent most of my career starting new ventures at large companies like SAP and VMware. But I've also been CMO for three now companies and growth stage startups. So that is who I am. And I can just introduce Craft as well, very briefly. Craft is an intelligent supply chain resilience platform, and we do really three things. We empower organizations to make smarter supplier decisions, to minimize disruption, and to optimize supply chain strategies. And our vision is to have a world connected by resilient, sustainable, intelligent supply chains.
Okay, well, there you go. That's quite the introduction. Thank you so much, Mimi.
Sure.
Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself too? And then we'll get the Q&A started.
Yeah, so I lead product here at Craft. I have spent the past 3 years working with the team on how we can best connect the dots for intelligent supply chains. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the insights and what we're doing with our customers.
Amy, you already started this, but can you just maybe take a moment to go a little bit deeper into what Craft does?
Absolutely. So Craft really is made up of three use cases. We do supplier intelligence, supplier risk management, and supply chain risk management. And so again, our core functionality and capabilities for our customers is to help them make those initial supplier decisions up front, to continuously monitor and understand their risks and compliance areas as they go with their suppliers, and then be able to take action. So if there is a disruption, if there is some kind of compliance issue, can they be able to coordinate and align across their teams and optimize their supply chain strategies in those moments and mitigate the risk? So that's kind of what we do in summary.
All right, I love it. I love like you can tell you know your stuff. Like you're like this is exactly what we do. All right. I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about competition and how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace versus others who offer a similar product.
Definitely. And it's a very competitive, fragmented market. There are a lot of different competitors out there that sound similar. But the
Yeah.
really three things that we do differently are first, we have the most comprehensive data fabric. And this is the foundation of really good supplier risk management. And that means we have data coming from hundreds of third-party validated sources. We've been collecting this data for over 4 years. So we have historical data about hundreds of thousands of suppliers. And then we also have very unique data sets that are only kind of unique for the industry. So our comprehensive data fabric is the first differentiator. The second is we have the most flexible, configurable, personalizable solution that allows you to tailor the solution for your business. So whether it's configuring our data fabric for the right levels and tiers of your suppliers, or whether it's configuring our risk engine for the right risk appetite or risk thresholds that you have in your business to monitor the right things across your risk and compliance, or even the right workflow capabilities, because every business has different processes and they need to personalize their solution to their processes. So that's the second. And then the third is we have the most actionable collaborative workflow capabilities. So a lot of solutions allow you to provide the information, they give you the monitoring and alerting, but they don't give you the ability to take action. And we have comprehensive workflow capabilities to help you initially make those supplier decisions, to help you mitigate risk when risks come about, and help you to optimize supply chain strategies across your organization and with your suppliers.
All right. I love the comprehensiveness of what you guys do, because so often you see in the marketplace, they'll do either like supplier onboarding risk assessment or post, but you also have your supply chain resilience in there and the workflow and what do you do with the information. So I love that about your product and solution. So, all right, let's talk about target market.
Yep. So we are definitely focused on enterprise, large commercial enterprise companies, as well as the federal government across, pretty much across the globe, but very much focused on the US, the UK, Australia, as far as federal government goes.
Okay.
And then we are really honed in on the procurement and supply chain professionals, typically starting with procurement, because it seems that with most organizations today, procurement is holding that responsibility. And so oftentimes they sit in supply chain, but we are typically working with a risk-driven professional in the procurement or supply chain organization. And most of our customers, today, as far as their challenges, and what the target market is, as far as the pain points, is they're leveraging disparate data from typically Dun& Bradstreet or alerts from Google Alerts. But they're realizing that because of the amount of alerts, because of the amount of risks and the amount of compliance, new regulatory compliance requirements, that just collecting financial data about their suppliers is not enough, and that they need more information to ensure that they're not putting their entire business at risk. And so that's really the pain point that starts off the discussion. And then they're really looking for one platform that has all relevant data to make, better supplier decisions and to monitor them over time.
Especially when we target these global enterprises, aside from the disparate sources that they have, there's also the benefit of being able to share the work and all of the due diligence that you do on your suppliers in one part of the globe and another. So sometimes these really large organizations, when we talk to them, that work is very stratified or it's done at different times in the year. And you can't benefit from the fact that someone just did an extreme diligence check on a supplier that might be approved for your organization.
The next one, and obviously I don't need to know a price or anything like that, but I would really like to understand how your pricing model works. How do you usually approach that in the marketplace?
Yeah, so that's the other thing we notice is customers want help on this. And what
Mhm.
we're really trying to do is three different things. So we have packages that are built out that are aligned to use cases that we're seeing most prevalent in customers. So the first is supplier intelligent, and then we have a package. We have, kind of t-shirt size packages of the right data for the number of suppliers, the right, ability to take levels of action, and the right modules in our solution. Then we have supplier risk management, which is the most common use case that we're working on with our customers today. And then we have a broader, kind of more complete package for a full supply chain risk management, which involves, first-party data and some other things. And so we include the modules of our platform, the data fabric for the different tiers of suppliers that you have, the alerts, and even N tier and the right level of N tier, depending on the package that you need. So that's kind of how we price, and it's very flexible and configurable to really meet the use cases of our customers.
All right, so let's talk about roadmap. And this is it gets me geeked out, like hearing what you guys have to like where you're going and what you're investing in. But what should we be excited about with the future of craft?
Yeah, so our vision is really to help global supply chains to become more transparent, more ethical, more sustainable, profitable. And our roadmap is really focused, on those things.
Mhm.
We're honing in on, I would say, three themes. One is around enterprise quality and scale. So you have to have a platform that can scale out, especially with our enterprise customers that are very large, to tens of thousands to even hundreds of thousands of suppliers. And so you need to have a very robust platform in place that allows for automation and flexibility and self-service and all the things in a robust data fabric that's easily to ingest and to get into the information into the right hands. So that's the first key kind of focus, which isn't the sexiest part, but it's absolutely critical. The second is really around our supplier risk management capabilities. And we continue to make them, what we're hearing from customers is that usability is critical. Having it really intuitive, easy to use, and very configurable is important. So we have a path to the most configurable, intuitive, easy to use, and actionable platform out in the market. And that's really where our short-term roadmap is. And then really the other step, and we believe in a crawl, walk, run approach to implementing our customers. The next big focus on our roadmap is around the ability to understand impact and optimize supply chain strategies by providing the most focused, end tier information, based on potential disruptions and any given time, as well as kind of that easy button to understand the revenue and time to market impact. And, when I say this, most of our competitors are going way crazy on NTR. They are just trying to, it's a lot of information to give to a customer at any given time. We believe it is way too much to start with. And the key to success there is to really hone in on the right use cases and to have the right people in place to make sure that if a given disruption happens, that you are using this tool in the right way to get the right information, and that you're bringing the right information internally about your supply chain orders, locations, product lines, that you're getting the right information at the right time. So this is not easy to do and is really critical to get right in order to be successful. And so that's kind of in the path of our long-term roadmap as well.
So our long-term vision is really, you have a fire hose of data. There's certain signs that come early and they're leading indicators that there might be stress within your supply chain. And you have to be able to connect how the business operates with the teams that are going to execute against whatever the risk is. And you need to be able to dial up what that risk is when it's going to impact you any given day.
Yep.
So our machine needs to get smarter and smarter by working with teams that are already acting on these violations and these risks.
Yeah.
The system can do it itself, right? How much can you give to the system versus you doing your own research?
We have 2 questions left. One is about a success story highlighting a customer success. And then the other one, just to save time, is around a lesson learned that leaders make when they're either deploying your solution or when they're having conversations with you.
So let me talk first about our customer success story. So I'll start with the Department of Defense. And if the Department of Defense can use Craft, then anyone can use Craft, because it is, obviously a really critical organization to this country. So there are over 23 organizations with over 450 users that are using Craft to date. They have standardized on Craft to do due diligence across all of the companies they're doing business with. So all of these organizations are actually collaborating together. So if one have done due diligence around one, they can leverage that information and very quickly do a shorter, quicker path to due diligence for another organization. And we have performed over 38,000 due diligence checks over the last 4 years. We typically find about 15 to 17% of companies have risks. And so this is kind of key to success for the federal government to be able to work with companies around the world and avoid companies that are doing business with the wrong countries. So foreign influence is really the most sensitive area there. We are also doing business with Hapag-Lloyd for supplier risk management, Lockheed Martin, and many other companies that are using our solution for full-fledged supplier risk management across financial services, manufacturing, retail, et cetera. And then what is the biggest mistake that customers use? We definitely have one. Most of our customers, when we get started with them, they're up and raring, ready to go to implement a technology before they've taken the time to build a supplier risk management program. And so one thing we've really instilled and put in place for them is let's work together to build out that program in a crawl, walk, run approach to make sure you are successful in what you are trying to achieve, to mitigate risk, to understand risk in your suppliers, and to take action if anything were to happen. And so we build out not just the technology implementation, but what are the people and processes that you need to have in place in order to really drive adoption and to make this successful. And that's one of our reasons we're partnering with Wonder, is to help us do that. So plug into Wonder and the fabulous services they provide, because we think you cannot be successful with supplier risk management without doing that upfront.
We love being a partner of yours and helping with that strategy piece of the implementation. And it is a huge lesson learned, I think, for everyone involved to make sure that you understand how your program needs to be structured and how you're going to use your insights from Craft effectively.
Imagine you are someone who is responsible for managing and mitigating risk, or at least responsible for finding out about these events and explaining to leadership what's going to happen, and also maybe yourself taking care of it. So this end user is someone who works with Kraft, has been working with Kraft, and all of their data, their first party data, their suppliers, all key systems have been already loaded into the systems. This is not Kraft Day 1 or onboarding. This is Kraft in action. So you as a user receive an email and it has your alerts for the day, and it's about 8 a.m. You can see that it started. And as you can see, is the first action in your Germany report that an explosion happened at the Port of Hamburg. So if you are in this day-to-day, you know that the Port of Hamburg does something like 70% of shipments through that port. So an explosion like that really would cause any manufacturers or distributors to come to a halt if they had to ship through it. So basically, this end user risk manager sees this alert and they want to go right into Kraft portal and find out what more information they have. So this alert ties them right into the alerts page in Kraft directly, where they're seeing more information about the explosions. They can either read the news article, or if this sentence alone has their spidey senses up, they can click to see which companies are impacted. So because this person has already mapped and paired all of their suppliers against the locations in the news alerts, they're getting context of which potential companies are impacted. And if you look very closely, Motored in this scenario is a critical spend supplier and their single source. So in this demo, we had this be a electric mower company. So they're putting together their mowing system, and this Motored organization does electric mowers. Because this is critical spend and single source, the person getting this alert right away knows that their inventory is going to be impacted by this explosion. So they click out, they go into the Motored profile. They might want to investigate a little bit more. It's possible they could look into risks, but honestly, if they already know it's critical spend and they already know it's single source, this person's already going to start working the case. So when you log a case, you're immediately letting know every group that you've found a problem. So this is tying the alert back to the case management, so you have inventory of it. And they're calling out that this is going to be something they're going to have to handle. So they make this a high priority case and they save it. When it's saved, you can also comment and start working with your team members right away. So if someone didn't read their email this morning, or they weren't aware that this was happening with this one client, you can note that you have a critical spend supplier that now probably is going to have delays with inventory. After that happens, that's not all that you can do in Kraft. Huge thing is you can go right away and start alternate sourcing if you have pre-approved lists. So one thing that's really important to know is this client has already listed all of their pre-approved vendors, and they're going to go into portfolio check and they're going to say, okay, I can't have my motor organization. So again, pre-approved suppliers, they run the check, and I can't have my pre-approved organization be in Germany because of the port explosion. And I know that Motored is a company that does electric motors. So I also want to see if there's any alternate source that I can apply here. And this happened super quick. So wow factor, they were able to run through a massive list of organizations that they can work with. And they found Prey and this alternate supplier that could provide them electric motors. But if you look very closely, Prey has an A score and they're low credit risk. So if you were going to look to have a conversation with inventory, likely this end user would pick Prey. So they save and publish the check they've done so they can share it with the rest of their team. And now she's reaching out to Karen. And Karen is someone who's a category manager who can actually call this organization and talk and discuss if they have any extra inventory and if it can be bought. So it was 8 a.m. when you got the first email. This end user is able to alternate source and communicate to the rest of the organization and track this risk is actually happening. Once they add the note, they can go back and look into their end tier. So again, wow factor. Most organizations are still fighting a fire, and it's taking weeks for them to figure out these answers or to find a same-day solution. Because all this information is centered in Kraft, they were able to do this right away. Now in the afternoon, this end user not only has a mitigation plan specifically for their single source supplier on their key product line, but they also can start investigating where else in their entire network are they potentially impacted by the fact that this issue happened in Germany. And lo and behold, this end user now has 3 companies that they can go investigate. So this is the blade part, the panel display, all these different engine parts. What the user can do with this type of information in their tiered sources is they can say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to trace all of the category managers or the people that maintain relationships and make sure that our extended network isn't going to have a problem. Again, something like this could take upwards of weeks or even months to mitigate and investigate with single sources and people having to go into disparate systems. Because it's all in Craft and because they can do it in one place and because this is shared across their teams, this type of action can be reduced from months and weeks down to days and hours. And that is the wow factor of the supply chain demo.
Before we drop off, if you have any parting words that you want to leave with our audience today.
So what I would just say is, really understand from a maturity perspective where you are and don't take risk lightly. Financial information is not enough information to understand what is going on with your suppliers, especially with all of the risks that are going on in compliance in this world today. And so it is possible to have a very easy to use, simple solution. Come talk to us about doing a risk assessment or what we're calling more of an maturity assessment of where you are today with supplier risk management. We can help. We start wherever you are. And so that would be probably my last parting words, is to offer my help.
Well, thank you so much, Mimi, Ashley, for not only representing your company very, very effectively today, but for all of the passion that you're putting into what you do for Craft and for our possession, our profession. It's,
Almost.
it's morning still for
Friday.
us when we're recording this. So, but truly appreciate it. You guys are amazing. And like I said, thank you so much for joining us today. All right, everyone. So here are my 3 things that I loved about what I saw today with the Craft team, and 3 things that I don't quite love yet. Some of those might be open questions more than anything else, but we're going to tackle this. So the first one that I noticed right off the gate that I absolutely love about the team at Craft is that they're so customer centric. I mean, if you think about how they talked about their design today, what they're trying to achieve on their roadmap, even their pricing came down to being very customer focused. So I adore that about them. Like, that is something that you don't see very often. When you do see it, it's really, really great. I bet they're awesome to work with as a result of it, and always actively listening to your needs. So very impressed with their ability to be customer focused. I do like, and I mentioned this in the video, so often in this risk space, you get risk kind of solutions out there that are very focused in one area, right? Like they're just risk for onboarding, or just risk post, or just financial risk, or whatever it might be. Like there's definitely a sweet spot. Others just do the workflow and project management around those risks. And what Craft is trying to do is bring all of that together, so you can do your onboarding, you could do your ongoing risk assessments. You could also do your supply chain resiliency, which I think is super interesting, very much in need. But then you could also project manage it and workflow it around through your organization, as you saw in the demo. So I think they're really taking this comprehensive approach to risk. So there's a ton of benefit and value in that. And then when I was watching the demo today, I was like, oh my goodness, this is agility defined. Like, we talk about agility all the time, but when it comes down to it, when there's an emergency, or there's some weather event that happens, it usually takes organizations way too long to understand how it's impacting your supply chain. And you saw through the demo the very agile approach to being able to mitigate that risk very, very quickly. Now, I was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm sure there's some setup that you have to do to get to the point where all of that data is there and everything's tagged correctly, but I think it's worth the investment to be able to have that agility on the back end and avoid plant shutdowns, customer order delays, whatever that might be. I think it's totally worth it. So those are the 3 things that I loved about what I saw today. 3 things that I don't quite love yet, or maybe considerations for the future as we continue to watch craft grow with their customer base. The one thing that and you hear this from me all the time, like, how are we embedding these workflows into systems that people are already using versus having to go into a separate application? And these are really my first 2 points. Like, the workflows themselves, are they going into Teams? Are they, is it, we saw the email example, but is there a Slack message that happens? Like, how do we get this more embedded into the day to day? So there's not yet another application for someone to go into, and that might miss some information. Okay, so workflows getting integrated into places where people are already working is item number one. Item number two is, I was just like, oh, what if we could push some of this data into their core, let's just say, procure to pay process. So for instance, I'm going in and I'm a materials planner, and I'm a buyer, and I was going to buy that motor that was needed for the manufacturing line. We needed to buy that. And in my purchasing system, could I see that, oh my gosh, there's a risk that on the supplier, so I know, maybe I shouldn't place that order, or maybe I should see if there's a risk mitigation plan, an alternative supplier, et cetera, et cetera. And I know at the transactional level, most of the time, those folks are not really asked to find alternative supply, but they need to know, like, they need to know that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be placing the order at this time with that supplier because there's some sort of issue that is going on. I think that would be amazing, like, to have those insights built into your process, and where the transactions are occurring would be just super beneficial to have. And my last note, and I'm debating whether this was a pro, something that I loved or maybe not love yet. I did take note, everyone. It was the first of these conversations in a very, very long time where AI was not mentioned. I mean, we're just gonna pause on that real quick. Like, it was not mentioned at all. Now, I don't know if that was strategic by the team. It could have been, like, to stay away from the buzzwords and the hype cycle. They did talk about data structures. Obviously, they have a ton of data that they're working on. There was mention of the system learning along the way, of behaviors and teams' reactions, et cetera. So there was a little bit of a hint there. So I am left, though, curious around what Kraft is doing to build out their Gen AI capabilities, if I could say it right. And I'm sure they're doing it, but I did take note that it was not mentioned directly in the demo or in the conversation. So anyway, I'll leave that up to you if that's a pro. If it's not, I'm not sure at this moment in time. I bet they have something going on, but maybe strategically they decided not to mention it. So anyway, I hoped you liked our Procure Tech Wonder today. We love doing these videos for you because it is our way to help you navigate the very complex world of Procure Tech.